Hello and welcome to figuring out how to play notes on the D string on your cello. Now, a couple of things to remember as we hold the cello. Step 1, feet flat on the floor. Step 2, your knees will be holding the lower portion of the instrument, called the lower bow. You'll have one leg on each side of the instrument and you should be able to move the cello with just your knees. Step 3, a great place to check in, right here, the pegs. This peg lines up with your C string. It's the peg on the lower right portion of the peg box. That peg will touch the base of your skull behind your left ear. So between feet flat, your knees on the side of the cello, and the peg behind your skull, you've got a recipe for being successful on the instrument. Next step, we've got to figure out where to put our fingers on this string. So here's how it starts. First, we identify where the open D string is. So we make our pizzicato hand, we place our thumb against the fingerboard, and then the closest string is C, then G, and there's open D. Open D, ready, go. Okay, now we have to place our fingers on the fingerboard. Now all of you have what are called stripes on your fingerboard. The first stripe is the one closest to the peg box, and if you remember, we really only have 4 fingers and a thumb. If you play piano, you're used to giving your thumb a number, but on the string instruments, we don't give it a finger number. We just call it a thumb. So for cello, our first finger is the index finger, and it's going to get placed about 2 inches away from the end of the fingerboard. You'll have a stripe indicating where your finger goes. Now, a couple of really important things to think about. 1, tip of your finger. You want to pull in to the cello with the tip of your finger. If your fingers buckle, so did mine, and I practiced to make sure my fingers stay curved. If your fingers go flat, you're going to get a really funny sound. It won't ring and it won't resonate because you're not making good enough contact with the fingerboard. So remember, keep those fingers curved and play on the tips of your fingers, and you'll make a much better sound. Next step, as we place our first finger down, take a look at my elbow. It's not down. It's also not parallel to the floor. It's roughly 45 degrees from where my first finger is to the elbow. This gives me motion and movement in my body. Today, you're only learning a couple of notes, but in a few short months, you'll be playing in lots of different areas on the instrument, and you want to be able to move your arm. So we have our first finger on the tip, we have our elbow at a 45-degree angle, and here's the last thing to consider, your thumb. Your thumb is always placed slightly below the first finger, right under the second finger. So as you make your hand shape, make sure that your thumb is slightly down. We do not want to get in the habit of having it placed all the way up at the top of the fingerboard. Make sure it's underneath the second finger. So when we place our first finger down, it's nice and curved. We have our elbow at a 45-degree angle, and we have our thumb underneath our second finger. Terrific. Before we teach you the notes, place all 4 fingers on the fingerboard. Place the 4 fingers in between each other finger. This gets you very close to playing every other note accurately. If your fingers smush together, you're probably playing the wrong notes. If your fingers are crazy wide apart, you're probably playing the wrong notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right hand in. Make sure they're nice and spaced out and curved. Terrific. So here's what we're going to learn. Open D. We've got that one. And now if I put my first finger on that first stripe, this is called first finger E. First finger E, go. Now for the cellos, we're going to save our second finger for later. But go ahead and place it down just so you can make sure it's lined up with your thumb. Then place the third finger down. This is F sharp. Now you might be doing this, twisting your body to look at your fingers. Notice that my spine is twisted, my head is down, my elbow's in the wrong place, and I have lots of tension in my body. This is a very normal thing for students to do, but is detrimental to their ability to play the instrument. So if you do need to check in, you can glance down and then make sure you're centered once again. We want to keep our shoulders balanced, our feet flat, and we don't want to have our spine twisted while we're playing. If you forgot and your fingers are smushed together, put those 3 fingers down, fit your right hand in between, and that F sharp will fall on the next stripe. If you don't have a stripe for this finger, you shouldn't have to do anything like that. So if you're doing something like that, that means that your cello only has a 1st finger tape and a 4th finger tape. So once again, put your 1st finger down, 2nd, 3rd. If it's about the distance with your right fingers fitting in between, that's your F sharp. So here we go. We're going to play F sharp, then 1st finger E, then open D. F sharp, ready, go. 1st finger E, go. Open D, relax your hand. Terrific. Now some of you might have made it sound like this. That's because you're not bringing the string into contact with the fingerboard. So make sure to pull the cello into your body. Pull into your body. Don't squeeze with your thumb. That's not going to get you anywhere. Make sure you pull down and in to your body so you're able to make great contact with the fingerboard. All right, let's not forget the pinky. Here's our 4th finger, and our 4th finger is very strong. It has a muscle dedicated to it around the forearm. One of the reasons why it feels a little bit funny is because it's on the edge. So when you get to your 4th finger, make sure that you're tall, your shoulders are open, and that your hand is balanced. Some of you may be doing this and leaning all the way back to your 1st finger, and now your pinky has a hard time because the only way for it to reach is for it to flatten, and now it's not very strong because it can't use the muscles in the arm to support it. So make sure our fingers are pointing straight into the fingerboard, roll our hands into the fingerboard, and look at this, round and strong pinky. Well, if it was open D and then E and then F sharp, what comes after? G, 4th finger G. And you might be thinking, yeah, but there's also open G. There is! That's a different string and a different note. Open G, very deep. 4th finger G is on the D string, and it's a whole octave higher, or 8 notes higher. You can hear it way up here, and you can hear this way down here. So open G is going to be lower in the staff, and lower on the instrument, and therefore sound lower. 4th finger G will be higher on the staff, higher on the instrument, and therefore sound higher. So here's 4th finger G. 4th finger G, go. 3rd finger F sharp. 1st finger E, go. Open D, ready, go. And those are the notes that you can play in 1st position on the cello with your 1st, 3rd, and 4th finger. Nice job. And remember, if you practice every day, by the end of the year, you'll be taller.